Hello guys, Alexander here again, and I know it's kind of been a bit since I did one of these. To be honest, I forgot that I was supposed to make another one. I thought I completed all of it, but here is the history of the first time team leader, and then a little bit extra with that. Okay, let's begin. In 1973, Brandon Hollister, who is the original person, was in its bar meddling with some pieces of electronics and what he presumed to be space junk. Now, as a little young teenager kid, whatever the heck, that's not a good idea, but this was the 70s. After many attempts to create a television that could control the typewriter, he didn't create a name for it yet. Now, this would be his first attempt to make a computer, basically. Yeah, I just thought I would make fun of that, but he never really did. He created a small, bulky wrist control. After trying to type in what he thought was the date of that day, he typed the date from the day before. He used a device, but instead of the date showing up on the television, the device just glowed. Well, oh well. In the state of failure, he started to run back to his house. Obviously, here he's like, oh, I'm so depressed, I'm crying and all what. While running back, the device started to glow more. As he got to a certain speed, a loud shockwave ran across the whole... I'm sorry, I know I wrote this, but I haven't read it for a while, and if I do, I read in my head, and I get stumbled in my head as well. As he got to a certain speed, a loud shockwave rang out across the whole dimension, causing it to split into two dimensions. A fraternal copy was created. Fraternal it's a twin of something, but it doesn't exactly look like it. But you can still tell they're twins. Though it was pretty much similar as the though it was pretty much similar as the other one, though it was pretty much similar as but the other one didn't copy all the correct things over. Sorry, I have to change that, comma. But the other one didn't copy all the correct things over, and it mutated some of the people. Brandon stopped in fear, then continued on back to his house. When he arrived, his mother was surprised to see him. He had stayed in the barn the other night, which was tonight, while the device caused him to go back in time one day. The next day, the day it started, he was out in the field walking around. He saw somebody running and realized it was him. In a quick flash and bang, the old him disappeared. After realizing what he created, he ran back to the barn carefully and began to tinker with the device, perfecting it in shape, size, and how it is used. He finally finished version 1 that could send a person through any amount of time in the location that they are, but only if he could get up to a certain speed. After a few years, in 1981, he founded Time Team with some of his friends. Now, around here, he's in college now, and this is 8 years later. So, he's, like, in college now. Maybe he's, like, 23 years old. So, he was, like, 15. He was in his teenage years when he started and realized. Smart kid. So, he founded Time Team with some of his friends who happened to be some scientists. Not really exactly great scientists. And theorists. Hold on. Okay. Now, back to, let's see, where were we? I'm sorry, I forgot where we were. I had to go take laundry somewhere. Theorist. Let me catch my breath. Okay. The very next year after Time Team was founded, they created a way to teleport the person from one location to the other, but the maximum distance was 100 miles. That was a certain type. That was the creation of the version 2. Of the second version. They had to create a name for it, so they called it the Time Area Teleporter, or TAT V2. Much different than TSDT. The first to test out this device was Hollister's sister, Abigail Hollister. She was supposed to go back in time to the 1950s and buy a newspaper to bring it back. She was successful, but on the way back, the newspaper burst into flames. Several tests were conducted on this matter. Paper caught fire, glass shattered, metal twisted and became bent, and there was no possible way to bring any item from the past or future to the present without some type of error happening. Without some type of error happening. 2 years later, in 1983, they were finally successful in bringing an item back. A container made from a certain type of metal was created. On its first test, the item failed, but when it was connected to the TAT V2, the items inside would be intact. Not long after they went to the year 2050 and bought technology that would help them build a much better version of the TAT V2, the items were brought back, but the items brought back were very complex and many colleagues of Hollister. The items brought back were very complex. I'm sorry, I can't read this. The items brought back were very complex. That made many colleagues of Hollister. That made many colleagues of Hollister quit doing research, but the ones who stayed created something amazing. Come the year 1988, at the World's Fair, they had the new and improved TSDT V1 was created. This allowed the user to travel through all time, all space, and across the dimensional planes. Now, they call it just dimensions now, but here's the dimensional planes. You still need to reach a slightly faster speed to teleport, but Abigail was ready. The tracker was placed in the TSDT V1 so they could track where she went. A crowd was marveled at the amazement, but could not see its truth. When Abigail finally teleported, a grave incident happened. The computers began to track her began to malfunction, blowing up and catching fire. Abigail was completely lost in time, space, and dimension. After losing his sister 2 years before, the year turns over to 1990. Hollister finishes the TSDT V2 even after his colleagues have all left him. Left him. As he searches every nook and cranny, every timeline and dimension, he cannot find her, but along the way he finds people in need, people who have suffered. Out of his own kindness, he helps these people. Realizing the good in his machine, he decides to found Time Team, a new Time Team, one dedicated to helping the peoples of time, space, and dimensions, learning as much information as they can about all of everything. He becomes the leader, and his assistant leader, Jackson Brown, a Psi-Hume, if you remember, genetically engineered robot creatures, whatever the heck, that can reproduce and all. But Jackson Brown, a Psi-Hume he met at the beginning of his search, who helped him. After Hollister is killed in action, Jackson Brown takes over as the second leader of Time Team. Now, I'm not sure if I did put him in there. Yeah, okay. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, comment down below on something you'd like me to do in the future. And I do have more ideas, and I think I might go over them with y'all. I am writing a book. It's called My Murder. I'm still perfecting it. It's a really cheesy book right now. But, yeah. I might read my... next video. Look forward to another reading video from my FNAF script. We'll be going over each night, one by one. Who knows? You might enjoy it. Now, if I do this, I'll be playing a bit of music in the background, and I'll be highlighting where stuff comes in. So thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and I'll see y'all later. Goodbye.